It has been estimated that over 720,000 people take their own lives every year, with over 49,000 suicides in the U.S. in 2022 alone. That's roughly one death every 11 minutes. Experts haven't figured out how to fully predict who might attempt suicide, or exactly when someone at risk might take that step. But quite often there are signs, and you can help save a life if you could just identify those signs correctly and talk. Wonder how effective it can be? According to the CDC, globally, around 13.2 million people seriously considered suicide in 2022. 3.8 million planned it, and 1.6 million attempted suicide. World Suicide Prevention Day was created back in 2003 by the International Association for Suicide Prevention, working alongside the World Health Organization. Every year on September 10th, the goal is to shine a light on the issue of suicide, reduce the stigma, and raise awareness, reminding us all that suicide is preventable. It's World Suicide Prevention Month, so let's learn how you can identify if someone is going through those silent, suicidal thoughts. Number 1. Unusual behavior with lethal items. If someone is handling firearms, too many pills, or other dangerous items in a way that seems out of the ordinary, it could be a red flag. You might notice them stockpiling pills, talking more about guns, or keeping sharp or lethal items with them, without any clear reason. Number 2. Giving away personal belongings. If a person suddenly starts giving away things they've always valued, like personal mementos or favorite possessions, it can be a subtle sign they're preparing for their absence. Number 3. Changes in sleep patterns. Extreme sleep changes are a common signal of emotional distress. Whether they're sleeping too much, which can happen when someone's trying to escape certain realities, or not sleeping at all, which indicates restlessness and overthinking, both can be warning signs. Number 4. Withdrawing from social interaction. A person who begins isolating themselves from friends, family, or social activities might be in deep emotional pain. If someone who's usually social suddenly avoids contact, doesn't return calls, or cancels plans, it's important to check in on them. Number 5. Engaging in reckless behavior. If you notice that someone starts doing dangerous things like getting heavily intoxicated, driving recklessly, or taking extreme physical risks, they could be exhibiting a disregard for their safety, which could signal suicidal thoughts. Number 6. Talking about wanting to die or about suicide. Statements like, "I'd be better off dead," or "I just want to end it," should always be taken seriously. These comments, even if said casually, can be signs that someone is considering suicide. Number 7. Struggling to find reasons to live. If someone talks about feeling like they have no purpose or struggles to list any reason for staying alive, that sense of hopelessness might be overwhelming them. Number 8. Feeling like a burden or like they don't belong. When someone constantly says they feel like they're a burden to loved ones or that they don't fit in anywhere, it can be a strong indicator that they're feeling isolated or unworthy, which are common signs of suicidal ideation. Number 9. Feelings of hopelessness. Statements like, "Things will never get better," or "I don't see a way out," often reflect deep hopelessness. This is one of the strongest emotional signals that someone might be thinking about suicide. Number 10. Substance abuse issues. People who struggle with drug or alcohol abuse are at higher risk for suicide, especially if they're using substances to cope with emotional pain or past trauma. Number 11. History of trauma. Those who've experienced traumatic events, such as abuse, assault, or losing a loved one, may carry unresolved emotional scars that heighten their risk of suicidal thoughts. Number 12. Mental health disorders. Untreated mental disorders like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, or personality disorders increase the risk of suicide. If you notice that someone's mental health is worsening or they've stopped receiving treatment, it's critical to monitor their well-being and stay in touch with them. Number 13. Personal or family history of suicide. If someone has attempted suicide before or has a family history of it, they are statistically more at risk. This background can affect their current mental state. Number 14. Loss of interest in activities. If a person suddenly stops enjoying hobbies, work, school, or other activities they used to love, it can indicate a deeper emotional issue. This loss of interest often reflects feelings of emptiness or disconnection from life. Dealing with a person with depression or someone having suicidal thoughts is also a bit tricky, but not difficult. You must proceed with caution about everything you say or do with them. To stop someone from committing suicide, probably the most important and the most effective thing to do is talk. And that's where most people make mistakes. For example, number 1, do not give them the impression that you're underestimating their feelings. Saying things like, "It's not that bad," or "You'll get over it," can come across as dismissive. It makes the person feel like their pain isn't valid, or that they're being dramatic, which can push them further away from seeking help. Number 2, offering quick solutions or advice might not be so helpful after all. Phrases like, "Just think positive," or "Why don't you go out for a walk?" might seem helpful, but it can make them feel like you don't really understand the complexity of their emotions. Number 3, do not compare their pain with others. Comments like, "Other people have it worse," or "At least you have a roof over your head," can be harmful. It can make the person feel guilty for their feelings or like they shouldn't be struggling because others might have bigger problems. Number 4, being overly cheerful or trying to fix them right away might work temporarily, but not in the long term. Sometimes people feel the need to cheer up someone who's suicidal. But saying things like, "Just smile more," or "You'll be fine," can feel patronizing and doesn't address the deeper emotional distress. Number 5, don't say something like, "You shouldn't feel like that." This can sound like you're invalidating their emotions. Even though it might be well-intentioned, it can make the person feel misunderstood or judged. Number 6, don't say something like, "Think about how this will affect your family." This can add pressure or guilt, making the person feel worse rather than supported. They might already feel like a burden, and this kind of statement can reinforce that idea. Number 7, don't say anything like, "You just need to snap out of it." This suggests that they have control over their suicidal feelings, which is often not the case. Depression and suicidal thoughts are not things people can just snap out of. So, what should you say instead? Number 1, say something like, "I'm here for you no matter what." Offering your presence without judgment is one of the most powerful things you can do. Let them know you're there to listen and support them, no strings attached. Number 2, you can say something like, "It sounds like you're going through something really difficult. Can you tell me more about what you're feeling?" This shows empathy and opens the door for them to share more without feeling judged. It's important to listen without interrupting, but don't push them if they don't want to talk about it right then. Show them that you really care about them and you are always there to listen to them. Number 3, I may not understand exactly what you're going through, but I want to help. Acknowledging that you don't fully understand their pain but still want to be there for them can be comforting. It lets them know that they're not alone. Number 4, you're important to me and I care about you. Reassuring them that they matter and that their presence is valuable can make a big difference. Sometimes people contemplating suicide feel invisible or like they wouldn't be missed. Number 5, I'm worried about you and I want to support you through this. Expressing concern without sounding accusatory is key. It shows that you've noticed they're struggling and you're ready to help them find a way through it. But what if they tell you about their problem and mention that they're planning something? Number 1, stay calm and don't panic. Panicking or reacting with intense emotion can make them withdraw or feel like they're in trouble. Number 2, ask open-ended questions. Gently ask questions like, "Do you have a plan?" or "Can you tell me more about how you're feeling right now?" These questions help you assess the seriousness of the situation while keeping the conversation going. Number 3, express care and urgency without pressure. That's when you can offer them solutions. Say things like, "I'm really worried about your safety right now. Let's talk about what we can do to keep you safe." Offer solutions, such as calling a crisis hotline or contacting a mental health professional. Number 4. Most importantly, don't leave them alone. Try to be with them for as long as you can, until the help arrives. If that's not possible, try reaching out to someone who could be near them, like a neighbor or a relative. Number 5. Get professional help. If you think they're in immediate danger or actively attempting suicide, don't hesitate to get medical help or call 911. You can also reach out to the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, where trained counselors are available to help anyone struggling.